What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and today I've got some intriguing WWE news for you guys, including the latest on the update involving the venue for Summerslam, which that'll be the first thing I will be talking about. WWE signing a superstar to NXT. And also the latest on, the, how should we say, the future of the Royal Rumble, and also, excuse me, and also what pay-per-view are we going to be seeing just 1 week after SummerSlam? So we're going to kick things off with the update on the search for the venue. For SummerSlam. Big shout outs okay, you know what? This laptop seriously needs to. Okay, alright. So shout outs to Andrew Pollard, I think was his. Okay, what the hell? Come. Thank you, finally. Alright, so, seriously. Alright, shoutouts to Andrew Pollard from What Culture for this particular article. With WWE seemingly adamant to do anything other than another empty arena show for this year's SummerSlam pay-per-view, now comes a further update on what could be on the table for the biggest show of the summer. As per the ever-reliable WrestleVotes, WWE is currently doing what it can to have SummerSlam take place in the northeast corner of the U.S. at an outdoor location where a limited number of fans would be able to attend. The reported status of things right now is that WWE officials have yet to find a state that would be okay with hosting such an event. You know what? In the ongoing global best. That's kind of okay. Adam Wilborn. Okay. Still running wild and causing all kinds of chaos. That's kind of funny. So the last thing he wrote down before showing off that the tweet from WrestleVotes, he says, you know what, with the ongoing global bastard, in parentheses, Adam Wilborn, still running wild and causing all kinds of chaos. I have to admit, that's kind of funny. That was kind of funny. Shoutouts to those two from What Culture. So this was the other day. WrestleVotes posted on Twitter saying that WWE has looked into hosting SummerSlam within the Northeast at an outdoor location with limited fans, and as of now have found no interested state in allowing that to happen. Only this morning there were rumblings and speculations that SummerSlam could be held on a boat or at a beach, and Vince McMahon is said to be intent on having SummerSlam to be as outrageous and crazy as possible. Originally, the 2020 edition of SummerSlam was to be held at the TD Garden in Boston, but obviously now it's not possible. If WWE is unable to find somewhere willing to host whatever crazed plans Vince has in mind for SummerSlam, the sports entertainment juggernaut would again be looking at a very real prospect of holding one of its biggest shows of the year in the confines of the empty Performance Center, a la WrestleMania 36. SummerSlam is due to take place on August 23rd, with a confirmed card right now being seen Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, and of course Angel Garza and Andrade against the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team titles. Okay, I don't know what kind of idea Vince has for SummerSlam, but I can tell you this: it's gonna be pretty. It's pretty good. It's gonna be pretty epic. I honestly don't know what we can expect. Actually, hang on a second. I believe Yeah, okay, so I was right. Yeah, okay, yeah. So obviously it was just those two matches. Honestly though, it's kind of hard to say what what we could expect for SummerSlam, but at this point, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say except that I hope it becomes crazy, and I hope that they do allow some fans to show up. At least this way, they'll be able to get in some revenue from the event, from the fans, so to speak. So if they do that, that would be incredible. It would be incredible. They would be able to get revenue from the fans, which obviously would be awesome because obviously without paying fans, the ratings of the shows would go down extensively, and that's what's been going on since this pandemic even started. Ever since this whole thing started back in what was it, March? The whole staying at home order and all that. Everything just went downhill for WWE. I think for like the first, what was it, for the first month or something like that, or like the first few weeks, WWE had done what you call it, had just done like reruns of matches from the past leading into WrestleMania, which involved like John Cena and Undertaker, Triple H, Batista, what have you, and it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird, but they were able to get a couple matches in just because they needed something fresh, But nowadays, nowadays the content is still pretty much the same as you would see with paying fans now without. And obviously too, as I said, the only quote unquote fans that we have now are the trainees at the Performance Center for Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, and NXT. Of course, too, NXT UK doesn't have that anymore because the Prime Minister of the UK has stopped, I guess, all like televised events and whatnot. For what was it that they called, rugby? I think it's called, soccer, or in their case, football. And of course also too NXT UK. I'm not so sure if we're gonna have Takeover Dublin, because we were supposed to have had Takeover Dublin at the end of April, but because of the pandemic and because that the Prime Minister had stopped all events, sporting events and whatnot, that's been taken off the shelf. And of course, too, we still also, if you guys remember, Ilya Dragunov had won a battle royal, making him the #1 contender for the NXT United Kingdom Championship, which is held by Imperium's Walter. So, will that match take place? I wouldn't know, but I can tell you this. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if we do get Takeover Dublin. Because if we do, that would be incredible. I would love to see Dragunov against Walter in an NXT UK ring. I would love to see that. But again, SummerSlam, having SummerSlam in front of like a half capacity crowd could be interesting. Alright, you guys, so now speaking of SummerSlam, that actually ties to the big question. Is WWE gonna have a pay-per-view just 1 week after SummerSlam? And apparently the answer is yes, because Shoutouts to Michael Hamflet from What Culture for this particular article. WWE will run another pay-per-view 7 days after SummerSlam. This is according to WrestleVotes, who have stated that the company will present Payback on August 30th, just a week removed from SummerSlam on the 23rd. This follows initial reports from various sources that the company were looking to splitting the biggest party of the summer over 2 weekends and or running Evolution 2 around the same time. WWE have yet to release formal confirmation of those plans. Either option would have been more preferable than the outcome on paper, with the Payback branding carrying a stigma due to the rotten quality of the last edition. 2017's saw fans flocking for the exits as a inexplicably rotten Roman Reigns Samoa Joe main event kicked off, along with a miserable undercard represented rather well by the House of Horrors battle between Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. The cinematic effort was brand new ground for WWE back to break back then. But the ongoing global health crisis has made them dab hands with knocking out disaster pieces that have dwarfed Wyatt's mucky kitchen in scale and stupidity. Okay, so having another pay-per-view... Let me just say this. Having another pay-per-view just a week after SummerSlam, that's about as bizarre as it can get, because you would need to have rematches, at least a few rematches coming out of SummerSlam. Like, if, for instance, if Drew McIntyre were to retain the WWE Championship over Randy Orton, and if Orton were to issue another challenge, that match would follow into Payback or into another pay-per-view that they could have. Another thing as well is that this rarely happens. For WWE to host a pay-per-view like a week or two after the last pay-per-view, it's very rare that WWE would do that. But in this case, I mean, it could be interesting. It could be interesting to say the very least. Honestly, though, I honestly would not, go for it, honestly. I would just leave. I would just, put Payback in, hang on a second, guys. Okay. I would just, wait until, possibly after Survivor Series for Payback, because obviously, as you guys know, Survivor Series is where Raw, SmackDown, and NXT collide for brand supremacy, and once that happens, once that happens, all the rivalries from then after will be completely fresh. So at this point, at this point, I think it's kind of weird that they would do that, but it is WWE. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. But again, going back to what I said earlier, they would have to follow up, the matches from SummerSlam into Payback, which that would not be so wise. That wouldn't be wise. I think, honestly though, I think as far, I don't know how to say it though, because having Payback is a pay-per-view is I guess it makes sense. The name itself, the name Payback, just pretty much speaks for itself. So honestly, honestly though, I just don't know. I wouldn't know myself. But if they do go for it, let's just hope that the matches on that card is going to be a follow up coming out of SummerSlam. Alright, you guys, now I'm going to be talking about the changes to the changed plans for next year's Royal Rumble. Basically, it's the big question of when and where will the road WrestleMania begin. So, shout outs, if it will go through. So, shout outs once again to Michael Hamflet for this one. Let's see here. WWE could be rethinking the date and location of the 2021 Royal Rumble. The January event is a cornerstone of the company's calendar and typically robust pay-per-view schedule. But WrestleVotes are reporting that the organization have elected to delay a planned August announcement due to the ever-changing details surrounding the show. There is as yet no official date nor location for the event. Though not formally confirmed, it's reasonable to assume the potential adjustments are due to the ongoing global health crisis, since the outbreak intensified in the U.S. in March. WWE have moved all pay-per-views and main roster TV tapings to the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. WrestleMania was the first to take place from the company gym, split over 2 nights to make for a slightly more manageable viewing experience. SummerSlam became the last Big Four event became the latest Big Four event to get the PC treatment, despite both WWE and the city of Boston holding out until early July before making the final decision. Various reports noted that Vince McMahon was aiming for an August return to a version of normality, but as has been the case for the whole world, despite wrestling constantly attempting to slip through the cracks, that decision is likely not to be his to make. Honestly, though, I wouldn't really know where they would host the event, but you know what? Honestly, wherever they host it, I just hope that the mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti, allows live events to come in with paying fans, because I'm telling you guys right now, I'm being real about this. This is absolutely crazy. Like, this has been absolutely insane. Having hardly any people inside the PC is absolutely it's pretty I don't even know how to describe it. But you know what? It does make sense. If they were to host the Royal Rumble and Royal Rumble weekend, they would have to host it at a small venue where they can allow fans to show up, but only at half capacity. It could be like a convention center, or a smaller venue, possibly the Rabble Bank Arena in Bakersfield, because I know that's a pretty small venue. But honestly though, I think that would be the biggest. That would probably be the more optimal choice, if you will. And honestly though, I just don't know. But again, it would make sense because by doing that, they'll be getting in. But it's like I said with SummerSlam, they'll be getting in a lot more revenue, seeing as how nowadays they rarely get any revenue at all. I think they're only getting the revenue mainly from the commercials, because when you're doing a show, you get revenue from commercials. And at this point, again, having paying fans would be incredible, at SummerSlam. But in terms of the Royal Rumble, what they need to do is potentially, okay, what is up with this thing? Okay, well, apparently it's not. Apparently, the next article that I wanted to talk about isn't going to load. So, yeah, again, it would make sense. It would make. There we go. Finally. Honestly though, it would make sense. But you never know. But you never know where they could host the event. Honestly. All right, you guys. So now going into Wrestle Talk. Shoutouts to Nate Craver. WWE signs a superstar to NXT, and he's drawing comparisons to Major Star. Fightful is reporting WWE has signed Leon Ruff to an NXT deal. If you haven't subscribed to Fightful Select, you should definitely consider it. Hashtag FTF. So Leon Ruff, if you guys don't know him, he has been on Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, NXT, 205 Live. He's been a part of everything, and he's literally making a name for himself despite the losses. He's making a name for himself. Let's see here. Interesting enough, Ruff has been compared by the wrestlers as a young Jeff Hardy after having worked on Raw, Main Event, and NXT. The feeling is Ruff is someone everyone wants to work with. Ruff supposedly goes to great lengths to make his opponent look good, and this is something Jeff Hardy did earlier in his career. Karrion Kross faced Ruff in his debut match on NXT. He's also lost several enhancement matches on Raw. Sean Ross Sapp is also reporting there have been push for him to be used on the main roster and 205 Live, which obviously has happened. Also, in the report, Ruff won't be the last person signed from Evolve. There was no word on who that person would be, but it is interesting WWE is signing wrestlers after releasing so many back in April. Big congrats to Leon Ruff, and kudos to him for making himself someone wrestlers want to work with. Yeah, okay, so Leon Ruff, I actually like the guy. I think honestly, I think he could really stand out so much. I think he is. I think he could really, in my honest opinion, I think he could do so much. He can do so much with his career in WWE. And ironically enough, though, I think he could do a lot in WWE. I'm not gonna say much about him. I think he's great, awesome in the ring. He knows how to get people over. But guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Question of the day: do you guys think Payback should happen a week after SummerSlam? Let me know in the comments below, or rather, any pay-per-view for that matter. Let me know in the comments below. And that is gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. Because with the channel, there's always something new to talk about. Also, do guys follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My links are down in the description below. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.